Hello, and welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Corner. Before we go on, switch it back to the cue.
Oh
Switch it
my
back to
God,
the
you're right. You know what?
rectangle.
You know what's crazy is let's do this. We're gonna much like the theme of this fall has been, like the Wizard of Oz. We're gonna bust through the barrier of filmmaking. And we're gonna go to our new layout. I was just so used to this being the normal look. And it's crazy. I didn't have to do math to get us to be even. We're just
Yeah,
automatically
exactly.
even because, as you guys can see, we are now boom. Look at that, beautiful. We are now streaming in glorious, I believe, 1080p from StreamYard. So not only that, but obviously we have been gone for a little bit, not too long though. Actually, it was just in the middle of the run of Agatha was the last time that we
Oh
didn't go
yeah.
live, but we did a full show and just put it on Premiere because of when we had to schedule it. Which yeah, we're gonna probably at some point in the coming weeks we'll probably circle back around to Agatha and Penguin and a whole bunch of stuff that we've missed out on. Before I say anything else, because I will forget, in the description down, first of all, let us know. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Does it look terrible? Does it look choppy? Let us know. It would help for me to be able to know what you guys are saying by looking at the live chat. Um, but that being said, down in the description, there is a link where you guys can hopefully call in. And we just want to know one thing, which is what is the best thing you have seen in 2024? So it could be a TV show, it could be a movie, it could be anything like that. Just let us know why. Gonna try and take a quick few calls or a quick call on here, probably like a minute or so. Get your guys' thoughts as a way for, as more people are hopefully going to start watching. We will be posting more and more, hopefully going forward with just how everything's starting to work out. But yeah, we want to try this new thing, so we'll be doing that later in the show. But TJ, any new life updates? Any big things you want to talk about before we dive into a couple stories and then our kind of our two chief what do I
Topics.
want to say topics of the of tonight? Yeah.
Yeah. No, not much. Personally, obviously the other night we saw Interstellar in IMAX, so that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I just checked it out on the YouTube feed. It looked good to me. Trying to think if I'm starting to read more. I guess that's a little update.
Really?
Um,
Dune Messiah?
I read Dune Messiah. I'm put it this: I'm a slow reader. Okay, very very
Okay.
slow. So I read Dune Messiah. That took me, I don't know how long it took me, but maybe it took me like a month. And it's not that long of a book. I
Mm-hmm.
read Dune. I reread Dune. So you see it like sitting up there. So that took me a little bit. So instead of I listened to it, I think once, and then I think before the second one came out, which we probably might have talked about already, I reread the first book, and
Mm-hmm.
then I read 11/22/63. So my first Stephen King book. Never read that before. That's
Oh,
probably
was James
about.
Franco in it?
Well, I watched the first episode of the show after I read the book.
No.
Was not a fan. I decided not to continue on that show. Personally, I didn't think the acting was all that great, and there was just some stuff in the first episode that kind of bothered me that they
Mhm.
kind of. I was like, oh, like it's gonna be like the book, and then I was like, oh, they kind of changed it, and I was like, I just don't really like it, so I
Yeah.
stopped watching that. And that took me a good few months because that was probably a good, I want to say 800 pages or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I read that, and then, yeah, I've been kind of going through shows, I guess. As I told you, I watched The Newsroom, went through that in a week, I think, maybe not, maybe less. I might have finished that in less than a week. Very, very good show.
Wow.
And Jeff Daniels was, I mean, everybody in that show was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And really cool to see kind of Dev Patel before he was kind of, I guess,
Yeah.
bigger.
It's that
Um,
Skins to Newsroom to Slumdog Millionaire, or I guess
yeah,
Skins to Slumdog to Newsroom was really his like launch. But
yeah.
did you
So that
see
was,
Monkey Man?
I've not seen that. No, I've scrolled. I know it was on
It's
Peacock, I
on.
think, for a time. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
now I
still
think
on
it's
there.
on Max. I think.
And so when I finished Newsroom, I actually moved right next to West Wing. I was like, Aaron Sorkin, I can't get enough. I was like, I need more of this writing in my life. So I went straight to West Wing. So I'm about halfway through season 2, I'd say. Now the week I binged Newsroom, I had the week off. So that's why I got through it so quickly. So West Wing's obviously going to take a little longer. West Wing's also, I think, 7 seasons. But there might be no better fictional president than Martin Sheen, in my opinion. I mean, that guy.
Boom! This guy's Bartlett for life, man.
And what did you tell me to watch? It was like
The American President.
Right. So it's like a preamble kind of. It's not like they're not connected, right?
Yeah, it's like I would describe that West Wing or the American President is like the soft pilot of West Wing. It was like, man, can you do this every week for us?
Right.
Like that, that kind of thing. And he said, yes, I can actually.
And I've watched a few movies here and there in that time span. But yeah, I've just been trying to keep up on shows for the most part. Obviously, I watched The Penguin, I watched Agatha, all that stuff. But yeah, I've been keeping busy, I'd say.
Perfect. Sorry, I am just putting in the chat. We had some people asking how to call in, and that is a awesome feature of this. I did just get my answer on how a certain higher level podcaster does something, and we cannot do it for the amount that we pay for this software. So
there's a higher tier than this?
There's a business tier.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So there's like a business tier, which honestly, maybe it isn't that much more money, but it's like a different, it's for taxes or something. But we can still do it, no problem. So getting to that, the description has the link to join. I also just put it in chat and in chat as well. What you guys got to do is join in, set up your microphone, set up your camera, but then just go in and disable your camera. That way you join audio only. Just so that it doesn't throw off our videos and stuff, unless you guys really want to be on video. That's just for you guys. But if you really, really want to be on video, no problem with that. Because again, this software allows us to do that, which is really, really cool. Yeah, for me, the main reason that we haven't even been doing stuff is I just have had so much work, stress and stuff going on and everything like that, but now it is beginning to clear up. We had a absolutely, I would just say, terrible Thanksgiving, Black Friday into Glicked, into Mo Wicked, or whatever you want to call it. But it has been a very, very busy week. I keep saying week. It's been like 2.5 weeks of just, I am like sleepwalking through my time between shifts because of the amount of people that we're doing. But we are finally coming out of that. We have the little bit of a December lull, when nothing big, but just stuff like, Craven and stuff like that is coming out. We have somebody waiting in the wings to give us their thoughts on some stuff. But yeah, just been a super busy time at work, but now things are starting to even out. First of the year, we got a whole bunch more vacation time, so you got to be thankful for that. Talking about Thanksgiving being lately. And then the thing that I will say, I know it's kind of cheating right now because I'm wearing this black sweatshirt, but the thing I've been doing for the last month, which is something I never thought I would be able to do, is I have been going crazy on calorie deficit diet and working out at the gym. Not as much working out at the gym because I don't have a lot of time to, but I've been doing the gym like once a week basically. But the calorie deficit thing was a huge adjustment at the beginning, but now I'm on like 38 days of doing it and I've lost almost 20 pounds. So I'm like, damn. Yeah, I'm trying to do that and trying to use the stress from work to work that out. And in the new year, I'm hopefully going to have more time so that we can work out at least one set day that we can both go together to the gym, that is. But yeah, so that's really all I've been doing. Other than that, I want to I think we could both pick maybe one thing. And I'm not going to, because I didn't say that, I'm not going to include your Aaron Sorkin bit. So if you want to talk about something else, the one thing that I want to talk about since we have last seen you guys, I thought it would be Penguin. I got to talk about Wicked, man.
Yeah.
I got to talk about Wicked. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to talk about Wicked. And then we have our first caller, Shannon, who is my sister. Thank you so much for calling in. We have her waiting in the wings. So we're going to tackle that after we talk a little bit of Wicked. Shannon, if you want to talk a little Wicked as well, which I believe you've seen. But yeah, I mean, so just my foundational relationship to it, and in the ensuing week since I've like seen it, I guess I really did underestimate like how much the Wizard of Oz like kind of just like oeuvre, like that whole like world like lived in my mind when I was a kid. Because the other day I went back, I watched the Wizard of Oz, and it was just scene after scene after scene. It was the same thing. It was, I thought this part was way longer. And oh, I remember this exact part. Like I remember, because I probably hadn't seen the Wizard of Oz probably 15 years.
Yeah.
And for me, I was double digits 15 years ago. So I was probably in middle school. But the last time I saw it was a long time ago. But before that, that was a movie that I would watch all the time, whether it was on TCM or TBS. Probably it was on when I was a kid. Not to mention when I was a really little kid, it was probably still on like CBS every year. And then The Wiz, I also just watched that the other day, and that is a movie that I've seen much more recently than The Wizard of Oz. I love The Wiz. It was just one of those weird movies. We had access to it when I was a kid. I don't know I think it was the VHS, and we would just watch it all the time. I'm remembering now it was a DVD because I can perfectly picture the cover of the DVD. And we would just watch it all the time. And so like that's all like baked in there. Then I watched things like Once Upon a Time, the ABC show. Where a big chunk of that storytelling is about the Wicked Witch. Obviously, when we were growing up, I feel like a huge Disney release was the Oz the Great and Powerful. Speaking of James Franco, so that like not a great movie, but it's definitely in my brain of like something that I really enjoyed watching. But Wicked itself, other than knowing like that Idina Menzel, or Adele Dazeem was in the show, and that it was like Kristen Chenoweth was in the show, I knew nothing about it. I knew that Defying Gravity and Popular were the big songs, saw the trailers leading up to it, everything like that. And I mean, you remember back, when we were doing the show pretty consistently in the beginning of the year, I don't think the trailers did it for me. I can't remember if they did it for you or not, but for me, I was left underwhelmed by the trailers, and they were really hiding or at least pulling back the musical element. And I just thought that just getting to the movie itself, I literally saw it once after Black Friday, after kind of the madness and died down. I saw it the Monday after, the Monday after Thanksgiving, so the Monday after it opened. And I literally was like, is Glinda the bad guy? I was like, I had that moment where I literally was like, what's going on here? I didn't know anything. Like the childhood me was like, I don't know if I like this. She's supposed to be the good one.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and then it's like, well, but kind of the whole point, obviously the whole point is people are more complex than that. It's like you take these absolute paper thin. I just watched the movie 3 days ago, so I can say this. To quote John Roca, I can say this. The most paper thin characters, like maybe in all of cinema, are like all the characters in the Wizard of Oz, like in that movie, like literally Glinda especially like has almost nothing, no thoughts on anything besides like the lines that she has to read. So the whole point of this is to like deepen that and everything. But the first time I watched it, I was like really moved, and I was like, wow, I really, really liked that. And then over the next couple of days, I was like, I'm not like singing the music to myself. I'm not like
You're a crazy person. I'll
yeah,
tell you
I'm
right
like,
now.
I really like that, but I'm not listening to the music on repeat. And then I went and watched it again with my sister this time. And that time I saw it in IMAX, and that time I didn't cry, but I really started to feel it and really well up, towards the end. And then after that second watch, I was listening to the music all the time. I was listening to the music, breaking down the lyrics, like trying to figure out what it means. And you can ask my family, I will not listen to anyone want to tell me well, in part 2, it had, and I'm like, I do not want to
Yeah.
know anything
Yeah.
about part 2 at all. And people are like, well, it's a story, it's 20 years old. And it's like, okay, so is, this movie or that movie. And I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it for me. I have now watched it 2 more times. So I've seen Wicked 4 times in the last week and a half. And needless to say, to spoil a later show that we'll be doing in a couple of weeks, about the higher ranked films of the year, let's say. I think we will be talking about that movie, and I really didn't think that we would. It was not on my radar. I thought the Gladiator 2 was going to be the best movie that week. And I have not even seen Gladiator 2, and I've seen Wicked 4 times, which is pretty crazy. But not real quick, up to you. What were your thoughts on Wicked? How did you feel?
Yeah, just a little background knowledge. I've seen Wicked. I saw Wicked once. I believe I must have seen it at Shays, obviously. I don't know what year it was. Really liked it then. Honestly, completely forgot what happens. I think I remembered the first half more than I did the second half. And obviously, once I saw part 1, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I just watched the slime tutorial, as it's called, on YouTube the other day. Just as like a refresher with Danielle. I was like, oh, yeah, that's what happens in the second half. So I won't say anything. But there is one thing. I'll just say it because it's not really a spoil. It's not a spoiler.
You better watch it.
But in part, and obviously in the first part when they rescue the cub, and
okay,
I saw a tweet that was like, it's just never thinking The Wizard of Oz. It's like, it never occurred to me that the Cowardly Lion was just a lion and not just somebody dressed up as a lion. I was like, yeah, that's what was going on in my mind too. I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is just a lion. It's not somebody who's dressed up,
I'll tell you right now, first time I watched it, didn't even put it together.
Right.
I didn't even put it together at all. Like it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah, so the trailer, I don't remember even what my reaction was for the trailer. I didn't have like the thought of, how everybody was like, it looks so bland, like just like the coloring and stuff like that.
I never felt that.
I didn't feel like that. And I've only seen the movie once, unfortunately. I've been meaning to see it again. I haven't. I think Danielle's seen it too. I think she's seen it twice. And I'm sure she'd love to go again. But I thought it was great. I thought it was a really strong first part. And you're not usually a musical guy, I know you've said. I personally, I would say I'm a musical person. Really like Tick, Tick, Boom. Really liked Hamilton. Really liked, Danielle and I have like season tickets to Shays. So we see a lot of musicals that come. Saw MJ the musical. That was a good one.
Is that like Mary Jane?
That's
Watson?
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He's
in The Wiz.
Exactly.
Which is at Shays right now.
I thought it was a really strong opening to like a 2-parter. Cynthia Erivo, I thought Ariana Grande knocked out of the park.
Yeah. The filmmaking, it's just.
Yeah, I thought all the choreography, the dancing was amazing. The songs, obviously.
Clark Wolf said this today on the Christian Harloff show. She said it takes, because they were talking about that John M. Chu did not get nominated for, I think, the Golden Globe. And she said it takes a pretty incredible director to make a movie this complex just look easy. And it's like, that's really what it felt like. It was like, if you really stop, like, One Short Day, like when they first get to the Emerald City, like half of that is a oneer. And I saw that in a behind the scenes thing where like half of that where the camera's just going through, like Copa style from like Goodfellas, like, and it's going through everybody. Like half of that is just all one take. And it's like and that's just one of the songs. That's one of the, smaller songs of the show. And it's just like that complex. And then you go, it's a 2.5-hour movie and it's only one half. I just think that's crazy.
I'm glad the music like kicked in for you for this, like the second round you saw it, because right after like the first when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, no rest for what's the first song called again? Oh my God, it's escaping.
No One Mourns the Wicked.
Yeah, No One Mourns the Wicked. I played that like a few times, like on
I'm
my
going to say
phone.
this right now. I'm going to say this right now. No one mourns the wicked.
Yeah.
No, comma, one mourns the wicked.
Oh,
There you go. There you go. Boom.
And yeah, it was, you know, I thought all the songs were great, all the performances are great. And I think it is and it's one of my favorite movies of the year I've seen so far. I haven't seen, honestly, I don't think I've seen that many movies from 2024.
Yeah.
Obviously I've seen Dune. I'm trying to think of any other ones, but it seems like it's really going well as far as box office wise, which really shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, this is one of this is one of the most popular musicals I think like ever. So case in point, I would expect a movie adaptation, as long as it's decent in some way, shape, or form, to make a lot of money, which it seems like it is. I don't know if because I know Moana 2 came out. It was like, ooh, Moana 2 like did like big numbers, apparently, like probably took a lot of audience away from Wicked 2. But I think maybe with Christmas rolling around, maybe it'll have like a little second wind, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now. So on the daily domestic chart, Wicked, at least today,
Mm-hmm.
And I will say in my tiny sliver of a microcosm at work today, I think this is true. Wicked was actually oversold Moana today. Looks
Wow.
like.
Okay.
Let's see here.
And it's what I thought it was Tuesday. It's Wednesday because I was like, oh, discount. You know.
Yeah, it was.
Discount
Yeah, it's good.
days
Okay,
usually
yeah.
get
So
more
then I guess
people,
yesterday,
obviously.
I should say. Yeah. So right now, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Take a look at that. So right now, Wicked stands at 465.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's like way weighted domestically, like way weighted domestically. And then, oh my God, Moana is almost exactly 50-50. Moana in 1 week less time is at 605.
Mm-hmm.
So Moana is going to be hitting $1 billion sooner than later. And then let's see, Gladiator's at 370, which is like, I think the people that wanted to doubt Oppenheimer's, standalone success, that were like, well, it only did as well because of Barbie. I feel like the people trying to make that argument about Oppenheimer were wrong, but you'd be right about this. I feel like if this whole phenomenon wasn't happening, I feel like Gladiator is not hitting $400 million. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the hype out of that movie died so quickly after it that it's like it really is almost just getting caught in the tailwind of the Moana Wicked, truly like phenomenon. I mean, you're looking, but throwing Gladiator in there too, you look at those 3 movies, you're at almost $2 billion after 2 weeks. For those 3 movies added together, you're at almost $2 billion already. Which is crazy. And then, like you said, I have every confidence that Wicked's going to run through the holidays, and everything, and just keep dominating, as well as Moana. And then Sonic. What do we have? Sonic, Mufasa, Craven. Do you have any interest at all in Craven?
Not after.
Did you watch the 8 minutes?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know there was 8 minutes.
Yeah, they posted the first 8 minutes.
Oh.
It's not good.
Heard there's some like cameos and stuff like that.
I am the rhino.
But like,
yeah,
where's it going? It's not going anywhere. Like, we're just kind of going through the
motions. They
with these
officially reported in the trades yesterday that they're not doing anymore.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank God.
The spunk is dead.
Yeah. I mean, again, it was kind of a law of diminishing returns. Like, obviously, like Venom 1 did it go $1 billion? Did it hit $1 billion?
It was like
close.
8.8. It was like 8.8.
Yeah,
so really close.
And I think Venom 1 is more kind of, obviously Venom is a pretty big character, I'd say. I'm a fan of Venom, and I don't really even know that much about Venom. I just like Venom and Carnage of the symbiotes. They all look really cool.
So Grace.
That's why I'm always interested in them.
Yeah.
And Venom, I feel like, was striking while the iron's hot. Everybody's interested. Spider-Man. But as they went on, they got worse. The movies did. And you could argue the first one wasn't that good, which I would argue that as well. And then you're getting into the more obscure characters where it's like, I get Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, the game. Okay, obviously Kraven was a villain.
Yeah.
But I mean, the big
Done really
villain was
well in that
Venom.
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but obviously the big one was Venom.
Yeah, he was the A story villain. He was
Right.
the part 1 villain, you know.
And, maybe you're also kind of trying to capitalize off that as well, even though that game came out like a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like you're kind of getting down to the characters where it's like, do we really need a movie? Like, Morbius. They did a movie with Morbius. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think. Was Morbius the first one that wasn't Venom? Did it go Venom 1, Venom 2, and then Morbius?
Probably.
Like, there was no spunk movies in between Venom 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Now, I would argue maybe if you were going to do, just looking back, if you're going to do one of these one-off villain, and maybe they couldn't do it because it was technically, although those Spider-Man movies are kind of a joint venture, right, between Sony and Marvel. If you were to give me like a solo movie, maybe of Michael Keaton, maybe I would have watched. That would have been, something that would be more interesting.
Yeah.
But then you're bringing in obviously with, I don't know. It's just like the Venom movies.
Like, what would have been like insane, like better than Madam Web, better than Craven, better than anything like that. And now, maybe this isn't true, but let's say maybe this could be true also. Let's say Homecoming, Craven was in Homecoming, right? And it was Aaron Taylor Johnson. And then now they're going, oh, it's been 6 years since Homecoming, and Aaron Taylor Johnson's coming back to be in a Craven movie. That would be awesome, because the example that I really thought of was, what's his face? Was Scorpion from, help me out, what's his name from Better Call Saul? Nacho from Better Call Saul.
I forget the actor's name.
Yeah, Michael Mando. You're right.
Yeah.
Like, that would be something that would get my ticket. Is they go, hey, Michael Mando from Homecoming. You go, how did he become this villain? How did he get this scar, in Homecoming and everything like that? How do we get to that point? And they go, Michael Mando's doing a Scorpion movie. Somebody that we've already had a tethered connection to, I think makes like all the difference in the world, and it's why it's just.
Yeah. And the last topic real quick, as far as those Sony movies, speaking of Venom 3, you saw it? I didn't see it.
I did. Yeah.
What did you think? It was probably.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. Just like the second one, I think I still think the first one was probably the best out of them. And I feel like I know they're all three of them are not great movies, but I also feel like I liked all three of them more than most people. So it's like, when that's the terms that you're talking about your franchise in, I don't know if that's the best terms that you want.
And the big bad was Kroll. Was that his name?
No, he's in it for 3 minutes.
What about Toxin? Was he in there?
Is Toxin Stephen Graham?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he's in the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in. They pay that off. They do that.
Okay. Yeah. What about the? I guess Null is the one that's trying to like take over everything. Wasn't there like a post-credit scene though, where it was like he's gonna come back?
I don't know, man.
So maybe not. Okay.
I don't know. The movie starts and he goes, I am the god of symbiotes.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale had my sword and Thor, remember?
Right.
And then he goes, go bring me the codex. And then it's like the opening logo.
Yeah.
And then the end credit scene is, the whole movie is them trying to get the codex. And then the end credit scene is him going, I didn't get the codex, but I'm going to escape anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm coming for Venom.
I'll always go back to saying, I don't know why Carnage was in the second movie. I always feel as Carnage.
Yeah. Why they didn't build up to him?
The end game, the final,
Yeah.
I'll
tell you what, I could see them going like, well, we want to do Carnage for the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if somebody had said during the second movie, well, wait, who's going to be the villain in the third movie? I think they would have changed it. They I think they would have gone, oh, maybe it should be Carnage. But I think
people care more about Carnage or Toxin. Well, I'm going to say probably Carnage.
Yeah. Or even wasn't oh my God, what's her name? From Naomi Harris. She was in Venom 2. And didn't she play like Screech? Like, just make Naomi Harris the villain of Venom 2. Just, you know, she's a freaking Oscar nominated actress, or maybe even Oscar winner, I think. And just have her be your villain, you know, have a cool female villain for Eddie Brock to go up against, you know, that's an actual physical threat and everything like that. That would have been really cool. And then in the third movie, you can still do your Woody Harrelson as Carnage and get his own movie instead of having to, you know, kind of make him, you know, one of like 5 most important characters, and one of them was Dan from Veep in that second movie. Man, you wouldn't even believe me if I told you how Dan from Veep comes back in Venom 3. You literally wouldn't even believe me. All right. Let's go ahead and move on here and try this out. We have Shannon waiting on phone here on call. Shannon, can you put in the chat? Can you just let us know before we bring you in? Are you seeing your microphone working and talking and stuff like that? Because I cannot see until I add you in. Give us a quick thumbs up in the chat, and then we will bring you in. And guys, if you want to call in, it is through the internet, obviously, but we're calling it call in. We are just asking you guys, what is the best thing, in your opinion, that you have seen this year? So let's see here. Well, Michelle in the chat says, I loved Venom 3. There you go. All right, so let's just go ahead and give this a go here. So we are going to bring Shannon into the chat in 3, 2, 1. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh wow, that was
yes,
well,
we can hear you very clearly. Look at that! Wow, that
sweet.
Welcome,
nice.
First, well, not the first on-air guest, but you were the first
call in.
Let's say call in guest of the podcast. So, welcome. What is the best thing that you have seen this year, and why?
Okay, so I'm going to tip my hat to Heretic just to start with.
Oh, okay.
I felt like for something for me in general that I've been missing from film, and I'm sure you guys feel the same, is character development and being able to really enjoy someone's performance. And the fact that that film was well written, but also well acted in a very simplistic environment between 3 individuals, and it was riveting and unique and interesting. I really enjoyed that. I also have to say that Wicked, although a musical, and I know like anyone that I've talked to that's like, it's a musical, I don't do those. I kind of explain to them, you know, I understand, but you really need to look at it through the lens of, this is a film that focuses on the character development of someone who is classically known to be evil. And there's a lot more to it than that. And I really enjoy the development of that character and just the interactions along the way. It's very entertaining. Everyone did a phenomenal job. Nobody phoned in their performances. And I look forward to part 2. That being said, though, my absolute favorite thing from this year, which really kind of dips into 2023 as well, is a TV show. Whoa. So I am obsessed with Silo on Apple TV+.
Whoa!
I think that the casting, the premise, the way that every single episode leads you wanting more, and not just you finish the episode and you want to know more. Every minute throughout each episode, you're like, okay, this is getting more interesting and more interesting. And the way that they are facilitating and sustaining life underground for hundreds of years after whatever apocalyptic event that we still don't understand, it just becomes more and more intense. And also using a very simplistic environment, they've found many, many ways to make it intriguing and edge of your seat, fun to watch. And I just haven't seen anything like it at least in a long time. I think that Jessica Ferguson is an amazing actor in general, and her work in this is on par, if not better, than Rose the Hat, or her time in Dune, which also, of course, Dune 1 and 2, amazing.
It's Rebecca Ferguson. You're thinking of Lady Jessica.
Yep, Lady Jessica. Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. Tim Robinson, another amazing actor in it.
Yeah. Even in season 1, Rashida Jones, right? Yeah,
Rashida Jones,
I have not watched
exactly.
season 2 yet, but
Yep.
yeah, David Oyelowo, right? Yeah.
Yep, and yeah, like you said, season 2 is ongoing. One of my like exciting little things, and Sean, you can understand from our childhood, but Steve Zahn is in season 2, and he has been
really?
absolutely incredible. Yes.
Is it a like white level? Is it a White Lotus level performance? Because I thought he was fantastic in season 1 of White Lotus. He was so
It's
good
a
in that.
completely different character, so it's hard to compare the two. What I will say though is for what the I don't want to do too many spoilers, but for what his character is, he plays it absolutely perfectly, and he is the perfect cast for it. Basically we come upon him in a situation where he has been alone for a very long time, and he is both kind and gentle and sweet, but also very protective and confused. So you'll have moments of clarity with him where he's happy to be around someone, and then he just switches on a dime into panic mode of, are you really here with me, or am I, because it's been a long time. And it's a very intense, deep character that has light moments and very heavy moments.
Yeah.
And he does a fantastic job of it. But I just can't say enough about it. And I feel like Apple TV originals may not get the hype that they deserve. Some of them, not so great. But when they have hits on their hands, they're fantastic. And I think Silo deserves a shout out because anyone that likes riveting TV would love this. You don't have to like sci-fi. You don't have to like post-apocalyptic. It's kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things. But there's a constant driving force of wanting to know what the hell is going on, but it feeds you entertainment and a good time while you're waiting. You don't feel frustrated. You're looking forward to hearing what's going on. And like, that's what I really love about it. So that's my number one. I will say though, I am extremely looking forward to and excited about Nosferatu. That cast and that movie and what went into it, just from what I have been able to learn, is extremely exciting to me. And I'm just very excited to see that. So that may, in terms of film, be my favorite. Heretic has that for now. And again, just because you get viewership, I just want everyone that appreciates film and TV. If you haven't seen Silo, I really recommend it heavily.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a ton of incredible stuff on Apple. Even like obviously Severance, and then that's coming back soon. And I really loved For All Mankind on there. And then obviously the first shows was the morning show.
Did you watch
did
you watch Harrison Ford and Jason Segel?
Oh, Shrinking. Yeah,
I didn't watch it. I know season 1 was good. I know.
Yeah, that's another one I have to get back on season 2. Yeah,
season 2 is iffy, maybe.
Yeah, my free year with my iPad ran out, so I have to. Go back in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for all of your thoughts on the Apple shows and everything like that. And for Silo, which is really, really good pick. And probably going to be in the next Emmy season, probably going to have a lot more Emmy nominations, just like the first season. But yeah, thank you so much for calling in. And if we have a different topic next week, we hope to hear from you again.
No problem. Good to see you guys back. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
One other, just real quick, 2024 kind of favorite that I just thought of that we might have talked about. I forgot if we were gone at this point or not, but Fallout in April was great. As someone who, I'm familiar with the games. I tried to play Fallout 4. I just couldn't get into it. But I thought that was a great show. Ella Purnell was great. Walton Goggins was awesome as the what's it called again? The kind of ghoul. That's what it's called. And it was cool to see Moises Arias as well. Hadn't seen him in a while. I always go back to obviously Hannah Montana when he was Rico on that show.
Yeah.
But that was a great show. And then another movie we didn't talk about because I know we were gone is we saw The Substance together. And I just
Boom.
thought it was a great movie. I did tell you I thought the last 20 minutes they kind of jumped the shark.
Mhm.
They kind of lost me, but I loved the messaging of the movie. It made me physically ill watching it. Like you said, like I literally had to walk out
Yeah.
and I went to the bathroom because
We
I thought I was
literally
gonna,
joked. We said I turned to Brianna and
yeah.
I said, "Oh, he's going to throw up."
No, I literally
and then you
was.
came back and you went, "Man, I just almost got sick." And I was like, "Oh my god."
It was the sound it was just the sound
Yeah.
effects and design
I
of
mean, you saw me. My biggest thing was the thread. The
Yeah.
thread going through that thick, like purple
Oh, yeah.
stitching.
and even just like
Nuh-uh.
the how unnerving the beginning it is where they just have the egg and it's kind of just splitting the yolk, you know, and then
Yeah.
you see the pupil. It was god,
Yeah.
it's just so unnerving.
Yeah.
That is another movie that would probably be in my top 10 of the year, but those are just two that just came to my mind that I wanted to talk about real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's I don't really know. I'm gonna do hang on. Let me do one last pass here. You know, can we just give a shout out real quick to Letterbox, just what it is and
Mhm.
what it allows? Um maybe that. Oh, Conclave, Honora, really,
Yeah,
really
those are
great
two I
stuff.
gotta
But
see.
again, some of those things we will be talking about again pretty soon. The last thing I want to talk about that I watched, that I feel like maybe you watched it or you probably would want to watch it. I went over to my roommate's sister's birthday
Mhm.
for a couple of days in Ohio because they live in Ohio. So we went there and I spent an entire day on my iPad and I watched the entire Mr. McMahon doc in one
Oh, yeah.
sitting. Uh, maybe the best doc I've seen this year. I have not seen Super Slash Man yet.
Neither have I.
So
Yep.
neither have I. It's on Max every day. It's like,
Yeah, watch me.
I'm Chris. Are you gonna watch me? And I'm like, Chris, I'm sorry, I will. Oh my god, real quick too. Sorry, my brain is like going back and forth. Superman. You see any of those clips coming out of the Superman and Lois finale?
No.
Man, that stuff looked beautiful. It's like the last 20 minutes is just him doing voiceover of how the rest of his life played out.
Mhm.
And it's like, and from ever since Luther was defeated, me and Lois spent every day together of the rest of her life
Damn.
because 15 years later, the cancer came back and we lost Lois. But then I learned to have hope again. And then after Lois dies, he gets crypto and he's like, how'd I never had a dog? And Tyler Hoechlin like destroys me. And it's like, I've met that guy. That guy is Superman in real life. He's also super, super nice. Probably the nicest, most best interaction I've ever had with a celebrity. I've told the story before, but that
Not
guy's
Dreyfus?
just not the exact opposite of Dreyfus because I was late to Tyler's picture. He was doing like the stills like for the con,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh my god, is there one more?" And they were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we have one more." And he was like, "All right, come on, man!" And we took like 3 pictures together. They only let me keep one, but because it was just like the end, and he was just taking
Yeah.
basically like publicity pictures. But man, that guy is like an incredible Superman, and like I'm really excited to in a couple because I was really in and out with Superman and Lois. I'm
Mhm.
excited in a couple
same.
years to just go back in and watch it. You know,
Mhm.
because I people go, you have to see this episode, and then it's like I'll go and I'll watch that one and the finale. I watched the whole episode of the finale. It was incredible. Everything that they pulled off with that show with their kids, like their 2 sons, everything like that. Really, really great. All right, let's get it. We have 2 more callers waiting. Let's get
Jeez.
one of these I can't even find the words. Let's get one of these stories out of the way, shall we? Let's get maybe 2 or 3 of them out of the way real quick. I just want to get your thoughts here. Huge news, obviously, rippled through the multiverse the other day, saying that Chris Evans will return in Avengers Doomsday. TJ, are we shocked? Hydra Cap, Old Man Cap, just a different Cap from a different multiverse. what do we think's going on?
I don't know
this
what we're
ruin
getting.
Anthony Mackie's chances to be beloved by the fans?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what we're getting. I think they might be cooking. I don't know. Can't confirm until we actually see
Tuning
it.
in from Minnesota.
Yep, she's there for not even 24 hours for work.
Oh my God.
And maybe 24 hours, maybe a little more than that.
Holy crap.
They could be cooking. They are also, again, this is, I feel like, a play. Same thing
They
with
could
RDJ.
be cooking, but that just caught up with me.
Same thing with RDJ
Yeah.
is they are, I don't want to say they're desperate,
Mhm.
but they're not as, and I'm not going to say not relevant because their MCU is relevant, obviously. But obviously, you know, we have the DCU starting. We're, you know, going in with a big bang with, you know, Creature Commandos is great, but Superman is the big ticket item. So they gotta compete, and they gotta, hopefully, seems like a real competitor coming up in DC. So they gotta take a big swing, and after the whole Kang, you know, kind of craziness and getting rid of that villain, and then kind of, you know, more misses than hits, I'd say, in recent memory. You know, they gotta really go in strong with these two Avengers movies. And obviously the RDJ announcement kind of blew everybody away, I feel like, for the most part, in surprise. Now that was you're either excited for that or you're not, you know, your opinion. And I'm gonna guess Chris Evans probably gonna be back for maybe a movie. I can't.
Yeah, do you think
imagine
this
it's
is
more than
Doomsday
that.
and Secret Wars, or do you think somehow this is just Doomsday? Or
Maybe it's both. But again, like past that, I don't think, you know, obviously we're getting anything other than that. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more of those names start to pop up as well for those two movies. Do you get Scarlett Johansson back for something?
Yeah, there was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a rumor in like February that like they were like they're bringing all the original six back. Yeah, there was that rumor, right? Well, Ruffalo never left. Renner never left.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's
to
like
be honest,
half of them
Evans
are still
never
there.
really left. Yeah, to be honest, Evans never really left. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since he played Cap, but he was just, I wouldn't even call it a cameo. He just had a small role as just a different Marvel character in the last MCU movie. So it's like I fully count that as Chris Evans being in an MCU movie. It's not.
I think
like,
there was
it
something.
doesn't
Wasn't
count.
there something the other day that Benedict Cumberbatch was like, "Yeah, I'm coming back." It's like, well, yeah, you're still alive, and you know, like I would expect you to be in that movie.
Well, it's the same thing with well, I guess it's not the same because technically, okay, Wanda's dead, but like it's the same thing with Elizabeth Olsen. It's always, I would love to come back. I would love for them to have me back. You know, I hope I'm coming back, and it's like, of course you're coming. What are you talking about? Like even with like Don Cheadle, like granted, you might not know if Armor Wars is going to happen, but like Rhodey is not a character that they're just gonna, oh, we just don't bring Rhodey back anymore. It's like, no, you gotta wrap these people up. And granted, Don Cheadle's almost 60. You know, people are getting to that age. Like, if we didn't say goodbye to Ruffalo in, you know, Endgame, I personally, I love Ruffalo. I'd be ready to say goodbye to him and give him a big sacrifice in Secret Wars. You know, I'm okay with, I wouldn't have been happy if we lost Hawkeye in Endgame because then it gave us Hawkeye. But now if they're like, well, Hawkeye is going to die in Secret Wars, I'm like, okay, we've had 7 Avengers movies with this guy, not to mention all the other things that he's been in, plus the Hawkeye TV show. He's so integral now to Kingpin and Echo and Daredevil and all that Hawkeye stuff, and even Black Widow, you know, it's all looped into Hawkeye. So if the character dies, it's like Kate is there. It feels like he's passed on his legacy. You know what I mean? So like, I'm okay with some of these bigger characters dying and really leaving room for people like Anthony Mackie and Simu Liu and Tatiana Maslany to like step into these, you know, bigger roles. But yeah, I just think I am not like a doom and gloom. Like I have seen some people, you know, reacting to that news this way. I frankly, I expected it. I mean, I'm not like shocked by this. You know, I'm not like, I saw one person who's normally really positive on a lot of stuff. They basically were like, this is the straw breaking the camel's back moment for the MCU, where it's like totally creatively bankrupt. And I'm like, I don't think so at all. I mean, this could be just old man Steve, coming back from the moon just because it's an event movie. It's like it could be nothing more than that. It could be we need Steve Rogers' wisdom, so he's going to be in this movie. It's like he's still alive. So I think it makes perfect sense. Although I do get, people, if you're assuming the worst about this news, I can see how you would assume the worst about this news, if that makes sense. But I think we just got to see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Next, real quick, I want to get your thoughts on this. Oscars, after many, many years, I've listened to many hours of the Town podcast from Puck News, hosted by Matt Bellany. Shout out that podcast. I listen to it every single day. Yes, absolutely. There we go. Boom. Andre Olivier or Oliviera. Let me know if I said that right. I definitely did not say that right. Yeah, it was not just a cameo. He was in 3 different scenes in Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, I mean if you're in an end credit scene that's like a 30-second end credit scene, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't consider you being in that movie. But like the Avengers at the end of Shang-Chi, the Avengers at the end of Captain Marvel, they're in those movies. And Chris Evans is in like a 2-minute end credit scene plus like 5 minutes of the movie. So he's 100% in there. Andre, why don't you click the link in the chat, call in, and let us know what your favorite thing to watch this year was. But yeah, the Oscars are finally going to be simulcast on ABC and on Hulu, which for people like me, I don't know if you have integrated yet, but it's just Disney Plus now.
Oh,
so
I see that it's like taking over. How am I going to say this? I'm on 2 separate payment plans for both services.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying?
Me too. I pay for Disney Plus through my Verizon bill, but then I pay the additional like $6 or whatever for Hulu on my card. So it's like
one of them I don't pay for is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But no, it is like overtaking. When I went to go watch Skeleton Crew earlier, it was like overtaking my thing. It was like highlight from Hulu. See this on Hulu. You can get a sneak peek of these Hulu shows. It's like, yeah, I know I have Hulu. Okay. So yeah, that's cool. I'm glad it's coming to a different streaming service. I think you're gonna see more of these services as well. Take on more live events. Obviously we had that.
Did you watch the fight?
I did. Unfortunately,
So did I.
Bro, I was passing out. As soon as they got to the fight, I was like, finally, because I was falling asleep.
Yeah.
But you're gonna start to see more live events. Obviously, Netflix had the fight. They're gonna have the NFL on Christmas as well
with Beyonce.
With Beyonce, they're gonna have hopefully those issues figured out as well, as far as buffering and streaming.
Man, that's in like 10 days.
Yeah, that's really soon. Hopefully,
yeah, that's in 2 weeks. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think eventually it will probably move to streaming only, because I know they've been complaining about the ratings every year that they're going down, and honestly, it's a long show. It's like. What is it, like three and a half hours?
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours with commercials. Yeah. I'm really interested to see what this looks like, because the SAG Awards got to be like an hour and 45 minutes because there was just no commercials when it was on Netflix. But with it being a simulcast, they're gonna have to cut to something. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, so it'll still be a 3-hour show even if you're watching it on streaming. Because you have to physically sit through the commercial breaks.
Yeah, I am excited for Conan though. I do like Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, great choice. I just shouted out Matt Bellany on the Town podcast. Strong disagree with him, Lucas Shaw, and Craig Horlbeck. All those guys from Puck News. Strong disagree. I think that Conan will bring in a bigger audience. I think they were like, not in a mean way, but they just said they don't really think that he's going to do much to add to it. I think enough people really love him and enough young people really watch his stuff online. I mean, he's got one of the biggest podcasts that there is. I think it will add something to the show, and I think he'll do a great job. 100%. All right. Let's go to last story here that we have, which just want to get your quick thoughts here. Austin Butler has officially been cast as Patrick Bateman in the Luca Guadagnino American Psycho remake that is being done over at, let's see. if I can scroll. Is it A24? Lionsgate. Yeah.
Mhm.
So over at Lionsgate. So what are your thoughts on this? Austin Butler as Patrick Bateman, but also it's American Psycho through the eyes of Luca Guadagnino. Could be pretty crazy. What are your thoughts overall on this movie happening and Austin Butler being the pick?
I'm excited. Well, I shouldn't say excited.
I'm
I
glad
like
it's not
American.
Jason Voorhees.
I like American Psycho. I know you're a big American Psycho fan, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Mhm.
I've only seen it once. I liked it. I'll definitely check it out. Austin Butler's a great actor, but I will say Luke Guadagnino, he's really on a heater. It seems.
Yeah.
Like he went
Bro
from
makes
Bones and
somebody
All.
said bro makes a movie every 7 months.
Yeah,
And that's
Bones
really
and All,
real.
Challengers, Queer, and now this. He just keeps making money. Is that don't think
Whoa.
Austin Butler is that
Oh,
talented?
right. I didn't even think about the fact you can see this. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
see this too.
yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think Austin Butler is that talented in general. That's going to be pretty crazy coming at these two guys. I think for me, I know I had a revisit and a absolute re-falling in love with the movie Elvis
I was
like
just
a month
thinking
ago.
that.
And honestly, it gets better every time I see it, and
Mhm.
I really like The Whale, and I think for so many reasons Brendan Fraser deserved to win that. But man, if there was ever a year where they could give out two for very different reasons, Austin Butler 100% deserved that Oscar win for Elvis. I mean,
Did you
that
watch The
performance
Bike
was-
Riders or no? I didn't.
No, I didn't, but I heard it
I
was
heard mixed
okay.
things, so I was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh.
It's still on the watch list, but it's on the bottom of the
Yeah.
watch list.
I'm very interested to see how he is in Heat 2. You've heard
Yeah,
me, and I've
if it's
complained
real.
before. He's playing Val Kilmer's character.
Yeah.
Chris's story in that book, it's like the worst part of the book for me. So boring.
Mhm.
Did not care one lick. So I will be interested to see how he carries that role throughout that movie.
Do you think Heat 2, it's like, is it like super long?
It's probably like 300 pages or so.
Okay, because I was going to say, do you think just by its nature of being a movie, just having to trim out so much, do you think like that might help it, or do you think it's like
I just think
losing
like,
detail?
if
would
I'm
maybe
thinking
make
of
it
Heat
worse?
1, what do I like to watch them? Obviously, Val, like that trio mainly in that movie.
Yeah,
Pacino, De Niro, and Val Kilmer are all great. But the relationship I care the most about and the people I want to see the most on screen are Pacino and De Niro
yeah,
and those characters.
yeah.
So honestly, when it comes to Chris as a character, I just wasn't that interested.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and again, I've said about Heat 2, the book, like I was so much more interested when it would, because I believe Al Pacino's when it's in his kind of headspace, it's previously, I want to say, or it's like a flashback. I forget, or no, it's probably forward. But anyway, his parts of the book I enjoyed way more than the parts with Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll be excited to see how that goes, if that goes. Just because obviously Ferrari,
Yeah,
pretty big calamity. And I'm not just talking about what the movie's about. One thing, Shannon in the chat says, I just worry the same thing will happen to American Psycho that happened to The Crow. Yeah, well, I mean, The Crow is a different story, only in that The Crow had about a dozen false starts before it happened. It was about a dozen people fully cast, not just like, oh, we're looking at this person. It was going to be Bradley Cooper for 2 years. Then it was going to be Jason Momoa for 2 years. Then it was going to be this person or that person. And all through the 2010s, the Crow reboot has been literally kicked around like Hollywood, with different teams and stuff. So with that, I don't think you can blame that on Bill Skarsgård. Not saying that you are blaming it on Bill Skarsgård, especially with what you said about Nosferatu. But I don't think you can blame it on Bill Skarsgård, and I don't think you can expect the same from this, only because Luca Guadagnino, I mean, that guy, when he wants to make something, he knows how he wants to make it. And like you said, I am a big American Psycho guy, and the last thing I'll say on this is I'm excited for this. I was excited before Austin Butler got cast. I was like, I think if anybody's going to bring something new to it, it could be Luca. And I think if I'm going to see somebody in the exact role, I was excited about, not that it had to be, but I was just excited that maybe you could go with a different race. And people were like, well, the whole point is that it's about, part of it's is white privilege. And I'm like, yeah, but if you take out the white privilege, the murdering is still kind of interesting. You know, that's, you know, it's like you can do that with kind of any race. But if we are obviously in Austin Butler going with the traditional Patrick Bateman type, I think Austin Butler with the slick back hair, you know, Elvis kind of a nice guy, you know, Fade Routh is kind of a freak. You know, this will be a nice turn for him, I think, playing kind of a normal person heel, you know, that's not this crazy bigger than life character in Dune. So I'm kind of interested. I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I'm kind of interested. Let's say that. All right, before we get to our main topic, we got one last call here. We have Shelly coming in. Let's see. Looks like your microphone is working, so we're going to bring you in here. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right, welcome to On the Show. And for anybody who's watching right now, you can go ahead and click the link in the description. We're going to be doing, you know, if you want to call in later in the show, we'll make it probably quicker than the first two calls that we did. Just because we do have to talk about two shows. But I just put the link back in the chat, so if anybody wants to join still, you are more than welcome to. And we will definitely get to you. But for now, Shelly, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, I should say, because it was 2 years ago that you were on for our Christmas celebration episode, which was led to a very, very humorous thumbnail. What is the best thing that you have seen this year and why?
Well, I guess, like, especially now, the thing that would probably be Wicked, but everybody knows that already, I think. So I'm going to go the TV end on this one. And I'm just going to say, you know, I was a huge WandaVision fan. And I know TJ was too, and everything. And, you know, Loki came pretty close, especially with season 2. But Agatha all along was, I don't even know what the words are, but it basically went past all expectations on this. I mean, it started out as a secondary character on WandaVision, that everybody sort of just was like, oh, okay, she's the nosy neighbor. And you don't really put it together until things start happening where you find out who she really is and all that. But, you know, you just think, well, this is sort of a one-off thing on WandaVision and everything. And Wanda turned into the Scarlet Witch at the end and the whole thing. But she was such a huge popular character with all of the viewers. Oh, yeah. But the next thing you know, she's going to get her own show. It took a little while to get there, but she, you know, I just thought it was amazing. Talk about character development. I mean, it's like the people in that show playing the characters that they were. The casting was perfect. Patti LuPone was a brilliant choice to cast in that show. Just Catherine Hahn is unbelievable. She can do anything anyway, but this just had such a huge range for her. And, you know, just bringing the whole sort of Maximov story back together too, you know, about Billy and all of that. It's nice because, you know, like you were saying before, people say all the time, like, you know, oh, is Wanda or Scarlet Witch going to come back? Well, I don't think there's any question now. But it's just, I loved that show. And I was really sad when it was over because I just wanted more, especially how they walked out at the end and, you know, the dialogue at the end just put you right there as there's going to be more of something with them, you know, whether it's a season 2, whether it's just going to be part of, you know, the films or something like that, you know, they're going to be back. But, you know, I just hope that they win like all the awards and everything. It was just really wonderful. And the best thing I've seen on television in a while that was so fresh and new and so different. you know. I like the whole witch and sorcerer end of Marvel anyway, so it just really made it even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, we had a pretty gushing conversation about it when we did our long, review of I think it was the first 2 episodes, which is on the channel now. If you want to go look at that. It just was a show that, I mean, we were, loving the first 2 episodes, and it just got better and better and better and better and better every single week after week, at like a commensurate rate. Like it kept stepping itself up every week to where, I would say there's maybe a stumbling block in like episode 3 or 4 where it's like, oh, okay, it's another escape room. But then even that one, it's like, it's just to get us to the next point for the characters to make the next big discovery, which I just thought the way that it kept unfolding itself, and the kind of the way that WandaVision did with Jack Schaefer, having written both of them, the way that it just kept kind of unfolding itself to the audience and to the characters was just fantastic. And I just thought Joe Locke was just an incredible debut and addition for a new character in the MCU.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where you're watching it and you finally think you're to the point where you understand where she's coming from, what's happening, and then all of a sudden you get the legitimate backstory at the end of what actually she was doing all those years.
Yeah.
So it's like you really think they're wrapping it up, and instead they throw you another bombshell.
Yeah, right at the end.
Yeah. So it was just amazing. It's one of those things that just leaves you wanting more, which is what they want. Obviously, there's all sorts of rumors and things going around that there's going to be a season 2, whether there is or not. We probably won't know for sure for a while. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a future for some of those characters in movies and everything. I could see them being in like the next Doctor Strange, because like I said, the sorcerers and the witches seem to blend well together in the Marvel universe. But that's the best thing. The next one will be Penguin, but I could go on about that for hours. So I won't.
Yeah, another show that I'm sure we'll probably be talking about more.
Yeah,
before the year is out for sure.
Well, welcome back, you guys. That's probably the best thing that's happened all year.
There you go.
You guys coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seemed the right time to get everything going again, and in this new exciting way where we get to kind of reach out to people who watch, people who listen, people who just tune in randomly, everything like that. So definitely appreciate you calling in, and whatever the topic might be next week, or if we're doing call-ins next week, hope to hear from you again.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Boom. All right, that was fun. I'm glad we did that. That was cool.
That's cool. I love that. That's a cool feature.
Yeah, I know. That was I was especially because we did it on the fly. It could have it could have joined, and the cameras could have all moved around and everything. Yeah. But I have OBS PTSD. I'm like,
right.
Don't call the Discord, because everything will become green lines. All right. Again, yeah. If anybody wants to call in again, the link is right there. Can't think of words. The link is right there in the chat. But let us move it along to our 2 main topic. Shannon said very user-friendly to call in. Absolutely. That's one of the reasons that we switched to this platform, is because you can really do a lot of stuff that you just cannot do.
Just quick background too. We did our first couple episodes using this program or
years ago.
This platform, and it was not good. Like they've improved it like way more than I thought they ever would.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I mean, really, I'm sure it was around before that, but really StreamYard didn't even start until the pandemic. Like it was like, they were like, people need a way to slam some webcam feeds into a URL and stream it. We need to build a Skype, but for putting it out there. And I think they just kept over the last couple of years just adding, oh, we don't have this feature and everybody wants it. Boom. Put it in. And it's very user-friendly on the back end too. I really, really like that. Let's go ahead and give our first thoughts here on a little show. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to be talking about DC Universe Creature Commando. DC's Creature Commandos now streaming exclusively on Max. So this sees the very start of the DCU by James Gunn and Peter Safran. This brand new animated show was something that Gunn was working on under the old DCEU, but then got the job at the DCU, greenlit the show himself, and then, you know, was like, this is going to be our first kind of soft opening to the DCU. So we got the first 2 episodes out December 5th on the Max platform from Warner Brothers. TJ, just starting off here, Creature Commandos, first impressions, first thoughts, characters, plot. What do you, the James Gunn of it all? Why did he put himself in the intro? What do you think?
I like it so far. I know that didn't sound as confident as maybe it should. But no, I like it so far. 2 episodes in. I like the animation style. I'm interested in some of the storylines, specifically the bride, I'd say, and Frankenstein as well, voiced by David Harbour, which I think is great. So, because I thought, and maybe this is in the trailer, like I thought, and this me again having no background knowledge on these characters as far as comics go or anything. I thought maybe obviously they'd be working together, but very interesting to see the bride specifically, you know, is falling for her maker. And then what happens. And then they're kind of, her and Frankenstein are at odds, which I thought was really interesting. Through the first episode, my only thing that I was like, oh, if this happens every single episode, it's going to get really old for me, was GI Robot and his like constant, like every sentence is Nazi this, Nazi that. And I was like, this is going to get really old for me. If this is like this every episode, I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to, like, this will really bring down the show for me. Second episode, not like that at all. He barely talked. So that was my thing. But it was just like, there was one part where he's conversing with who's the fish girl?
Nina Mazursky.
Nina. And like every single other word is like, every other word is like Nazi. Is he a Nazi? Oh, I can't wait to kill Nazis. Nazi. I was like, okay, I get it. Okay. But other than that was great. I really like oh my god, what's his name? Skeleton
Dr. Phosphorus.
Dr. Phosphorus, really cool design.
Ooh, by the way, can I just say this before we even get to anything else? Amanda Waller, you are bending the rules already. Dr. Phosphorus and Nina Mazursky are humans.
Yeah.
And I would say the bride is a human as well, just a patched together one. But in terms of like Dr. Phosphorus and Nina are literally just transfigured people. Like they're still humans. Like, I don't know, you're kind of bending the rules here, but oh, well, speaking of, I mean, go back to what you were saying, but also speaking of, what were your thoughts on right away Peacemaker season 1 canon?
Yes.
Suicide Squad canon. By the way,
I was like, oh,
I watched the first 2 episodes on December 5th. Right after I watched The Suicide Squad, and right after I watched 2 episodes of Peacemaker. I was like, if this, not even talking about Superman at all, if this little Creature Commandos, Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, like if that's the vibe of DC going forward, just how, you know, and with a little more flavor and like a little different vibe where Superman's going to be more like stoic and, you know, heroic and everything, but just, man, like the and I like, to be clear, out of those 3 projects, I like Creature Commandos the least. But out of those 3 products, I'm like, man, if those are, if this whole Rick Flag Peacemaker saga thing is going to be like a little, you know, Nick Fury Coulson thing running through some of these earlier, you know, installments of the DCU, count me in. I'm already rewatching the Suicide Squad. I'm just like, man, I do like Rick Flag Jr. And then because I like him so much, I do like Rick Flag Sr. and I'm excited to see him in more stuff. And I really like Frank Grillo in the role.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see where these characters go. Obviously, at the end of this like 7 episode season, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I didn't even know that it was 7. I thought it was like 10.
Yeah. And if they translate or how they translate to live action, if they ever do, assuming maybe they do. I thought I thought sorry, that was something I was like, oh, okay, so this is canon to Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, which I guess makes sense. Those were both James Gunn led, so
Yeah.
makes sense that they would be connected in some way. Lot of sex.
Yeah,
which kind of just threw me off, I guess. And again, I should really, I guess, be surprised because I feel like that is kind of not James Gunn's like, but it's part of his sense of humor, you know. So I'll be interested to see how much more of that is in the show. I'm gonna guess it's not just in the first 2 episodes, you know. But it also leads to a interesting relationship with the princess and then Rick Flag to see how that kind of grows. And I did think the knight, I don't know what his name is, the knight at like the castle that I thought he was pretty funny. I thought he had some good jokes. But yeah, I like it so far. It's not, a lot of these shows I will say, and it's not that I'm not excited for them, but I'm just not. I don't know the last time there's a show that's coming out and I've been like, it was probably The Penguin, which wasn't that long ago, but I find less and less shows that I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this, like Game of Thrones level, like where it's like, I gotta watch it the minute it comes out, or else.
Well, do you do that with House of the Dragon?
Even House of the Dragon, I don't really do that. And maybe Game of Thrones had that extra thing because I was kind of coming on in the last 2 seasons, and we were like having an event, like specifically like us and some other people having an event to watch it. So maybe that's why it seemed bigger, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of shows are lacking that nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like too that's a lot of that comes from, honestly, a lot of that I think it is like crazy how it's kind of like crazy to even talk about, but like how much COVID just yanking the emergency brake on society on this planet, literally like just so reconditioned us that it's like when you hit COVID and Disney Plus launching shows at 3 a.m. for the first 3 years, you disintegrated event television. Now all the Disney Plus shows come out at a reasonable time. We were harping on it on this show for 2 years. Disney, there's more than 1 day a week. Now the shows come out all different days of the week, all of them at 9 p.m. for us on the East Coast of the US. But it's too late. It's too late. We were staying up every week to 3 a.m. to watch Mando, to watch, WandaVision. The really big ones right at the start. We were staying up every single week till 3 a.m. to watch those shows. And then it was just, I think, a progressive arc of the shows started coming out earlier and earlier. But it's like now it's, I also just feel like, I don't even want to open this, but like Twitter is not what it used to be. I'm not even on Twitter anymore. Like Twitter is not what it was 4 years ago when those shows would come out. It was, I cannot open 4 years ago, if I didn't watch the first episode of Mando season 2 or the 4th episode of Mando season 2, if I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I look at my phone, the whole episode is ruined. Everybody's already talking about it. All of my Twitter feed is all talking about Mando. No spoiler warnings, everything. I had to watch it. And I just think everything's so decentralized now. You just don't have that. You don't have that rush to go. I literally have to avoid the spoilers by watching the episode as soon as I can. And I think until that comes back or until that's different, I think a lot of us just aren't going to feel that need to watch it immediately. For me, for me, it's all about if I'm working or not. It's like if I'm working and the episode comes out, I am not watching it until, the next week. Like the HBO shows, in my job, I close every Sunday night all year long. I close every single Sunday night. So it's like, I'm always either watching it at, midnight or early on Monday. All the HBO shows. So it's like those ones I really don't have a choice. And it's like, well, if I don't really care about Penguin, am I really going to care about, this or that? That being said, I did make, me and my whole family got together, basically, not my whole family, but me and a couple family members, we got together every single week and watched Agatha at the time that it launched every single week. It was crazy. It felt like the 2000s. But yeah, I think just wrapping up on Creature Commandos, last thoughts. I think it's a good, solid start. I'm excited for the kind of connectivity that we're just hitting the ground running with. And then obviously Weasel also from the Suicide Squad, with the direct shout out of like the one of the sole surviving members of the team that went up again, or Team A from the Project Starfish incident. Whatever the mumbo jumbo is.
Again, it wasn't just like a passing reference. It was like
it was a full minute of
the movie and what happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, okay.
Even though I loved the moment where she was like, I don't know what she says. Your son was always reckless and flying off the handle, and then she has the moment where she sees Senior like kind of coil at it. And even Amanda Waller has that moment where she's like, Rick, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to I didn't mean to basically intimate anything, that I didn't want to about your son. I just love, literally 2 minutes into the show and I'm like, okay, yeah, don't get rid of Amanda Waller or don't get rid of Viola Davis. You know what I mean? It's like, she is just so good as this character. It's like she is one of the best castings in DC ever. She is so good as Amanda Waller. She is the Nick Fury of the DC universe. She really is. And if anything, I am team, I know we're going to get this because the Waller is one of the first shows that they're going to be doing. Just probably, not for a year or two, but I am just team put Amanda Waller in everything. Like if they go, guess who got cast in Supergirl? Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I'm like, okay, sign me up. Yeah. I'm there. She's just so good. I literally cannot get enough of her. And it's crazy how much I even saw a clip. It was in like a New Rockstars video that I was watching. And it was the clip of her reacting to what her daughter does at the end of Peacemaker, where they just cut to Amanda Waller and she's on her couch and she's like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, it's just so funny. But yeah, really excited to see where Creature Commandos goes. And then obviously, it'll give us a nice little, appetizer for Superman next summer, which is going to be the real rollout of the DCU. Anything left on Creature Commandos you want to touch on?
No, that's it for me.
All right. So next up here, we are going to talk about. Did you know that there is a Star Wars show this year that's not about a bunch of witches who just don't understand the Jedi? It is called Star Wars Skeleton Crew. That's another show that we didn't talk about at all, by the way. We were never on air for Acolyte, the whole thing.
We weren't?
Nope. We never talked anything about it ever. Obviously personally we did. Yeah, and we never will. A show we probably will not be talking about in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
But anyways, a show maybe we will be is Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So obviously we're back this week. Star Wars Skeleton Crew did start last week with a 2 episode premiere on Disney Plus. The 3rd episode is now out. And this follows Wim, Neil, Fern, KB. We also have SM-33 or Smee, the droid on the ship that they found, who is voiced by is voiced by Nick Frost. That's right. And then we have, I believe, Farah, who is Fern's mother, the proctor of this planet at Aden, who is played by Carrie Condon. And then we have a couple other pirates. And then we obviously have Mr. Jude Law as, is his name Jod Nanawood? Is his name Crimson Jack? Or is it Captain Silvo? Or is Jod Nanawe, is his fake name Captain Crimson Jack Silvo? Maybe it's all just one name. I don't know. Anyways, let's just go through this real quick. What are your thoughts on Skeleton Crew? Take it away. Go wherever you want to go with any of these 3 episodes.
First 3 episodes I thought were really good. And I'd say I think the kids are awesome. I think they kind of bounce off each other really well. Specifically, whoever the I forget his name, the kid who plays the elephant or the elephant's character name. He's great. Maybe my favorite.
Neil is the character. I don't
Neil.
know the name of
Maybe
the
my favorite
actor.
character. I'm very interested in this planet. Okay. I'm very interested in the idea that there was, and we get this info in the third episode, not really a spoiler, but the planet, as they say in the first 2 episodes, is hidden, obviously, from a bunch of other planets, kind of like oh my god, it's blanking.
Exegol.
Like Exegol or Geonosis. Or no, not Geonosis. Oh my goodness.
Tanalorr.
No, not in Attack of the Clones.
Camino.
Yeah, Camino was blanking. Kind of like Camino, how it's like hidden, it's like been deleted from the master directory of the universe, you know.
Tanalorr also from Jedi Survivor.
Yep. Yeah. So I find that really interesting. And when I watched the first episode, I was like, I never thought that there would be a planet like that. For some reason, it never occurred to me like, oh yeah, there's a planet with families, you know, like a regular neighborhood, you know, they go to school and all that stuff. Are you guys looking forward to carry with I don't even know what that is.
I have not.
It's the movie with
I will say this.
Okay.
I am excited. Yeah. I have not heard good things.
I know Jason Bateman did Ozark, and I know you're a big Ozark fan, but when I see Jason Bateman in a role like that, I'm like, I don't really believe that. Personally.
Really?
I'm assuming he's the bad guy, obviously.
Oh, you don't need to watch Ozark to believe that, man. You gotta watch The Outsider on HBO. That's what you gotta watch. Just watch the first 2 episodes and you'll believe it.
With what's his name?
Yeah.
Him and
talking to the cops, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah, he's so good in that. But I'm excited for Carry On. Have not heard good things, so I did not know that it was a Christmas movie. Sorry, I didn't know it was a Christmas movie. Yeah, I guess it's like Taron Egerton's the cop that's trying to get home for Christmas.
Yeah. But it never occurred to me that there was planets in Star Wars that for some reason were like, oh yeah, they got kids, families, you know, going to school, they're going to their job. This planet has a very big brotherish feel to it, where it's like, oh, we're all
very
working.
Stepford.
We're all working towards the great. I forget what it's called.
The Great Works.
Great Works. It's like, what the frick? What the hell does that mean? Everybody's, you know, an analyst, or everybody goes to work for the corporation, and they got to take the test, and it's going to decide, you know, what you will be. And I never really got a sense of what the consequence was if you. I'm assuming it was probably just a really terrible job. That's why it's so important to do well on the tests, because you want to be probably an analyst, like the father, like a lot of the kids' parents are. So I found that really interesting, and I'm excited to see like where that goes, and I'm very interested as well in Jude Law's character. And at the end of the second episode, when he shows up, he does his Force thing, and I'm like, oh, maybe is he a Jedi? I was like, did they like advertise that he's a Jedi or anything like that? And obviously, as episode 3 goes on, you'll learn more about him. And I'm not saying he's the Star Wars universe's Mysterio, but he might be. I don't know. I don't know if he has some smoke and mirrors someplace. You know
what's crazy?
What was that?
I watched the first hour of Far From Home last night.
Oh yeah,
pretty crazy.
And you probably said, I think that's Jude Law. Well, I mean, I guess at that point you didn't see the episode, but
you know what? Actually, to be fair, I watched it because of Skeleton Crew, because of John Watts.
Oh, fair enough.
I actually did.
But I'm interested to see like what his character is, and obviously there's some sort of, and they've said it multiple times, there's treasure somewhere on the planet.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. They got me. I will say that. It's a little kid, but it's like, it's like the Goonies.
Yeah.
It's very much
I mean,
vibe.
John Watts has said multiple times, it's a show with kids, but it's not a kid show, and I think that's like very easy to say, and a lot of people say that. But I really feel like it's true with this. I think it's a massive combination of the 4 actors that they got are just incredible as each of these kids, just really, really nailing exactly what they're about. The only complaint really that I had of the first 2 episodes was that I feel like we didn't get enough with KB, and then I feel like KB was the focus of the 3rd episode. You know, she got several one-on-one scenes
Oh, yeah.
with Jude Law. Her parents, her 2 mothers were like the big, you know, had the big dialogue scene in that room, in that one with all the parents in episode 3. So I was excited for, so even that complaint, which wasn't even really a complaint, it was just like, oh, I hope we're not leaving KB behind. Like, I hope we're not being like, well, she's the 4th, and then she's the 4th one. You know, it's like, no, she has a very vital role that became evident in episode 3, that it's like, without KB, you know, a lot of this logic and a lot of this technology and stuff, you know, they're not making it back. They're not making it back without some of what KB can do. Even just the, like, you know, her implant letting her sense that droid was coming around the corner, and then they make the joke where it's like, oh, I guess she has the Force too. But it's like, I just love that she's that in tune with like technology. She's like Lobot, but you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, and I thought it was, again, just the constant mystery building that's going on here is like, why does KB have this medical device that her moms are like, you know, her, what do they say? Her life tracker, you know, it stopped pinging or something. And it's like, is this kind of like this Black Mirror-y vibe of like, you know, the people that like implant their kids, you know, like microchip their kids, you know? So I think that'll be very interesting if we get a moment where it's like, maybe she didn't even choose to have this.
Right. And you know, I forget what the bird's name.
Kim.
Kim. Yeah.
You know how it's spelled though?
KH-YMM. Oh, okay.
Because of course it is.
Of course.
It's got
but when they're kind of looking at the map and they're like, oh yeah, there is I think it's 8 planets. It's like part of the old Republic. It goes all the way back then, and then 7 of them destroyed. There's this one remaining. And
the Jewels of the Republic.
Yeah, and I'm
totally
like,
new concept to Star Wars,
which I'm just kind of like, is this going to be one of those, you know,
I think it could be interesting,
you know, sneaky Jedi type secret things that, you know, they didn't want to tell anybody about. So I am really, they really do got me. They really needed a good bounce back after Acolyte.
Yeah,
you know, like it or not, and I, you know, obviously that show had its fans, but for the most part, it just did not hit the mark, unfortunately. And they really needed something other than Andor to bring people back. And I think so far they got it with Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I am going to mimic almost the entirety of what you said. I think everything, starting with what you said, the kids. I was telling my friend Zach at work, you know, it's the first 2 episodes are great. And Jude Law doesn't come into the show. Granted, he's in the cold open of the show, but he doesn't really enter the show until the end of the 2nd episode. And I'm like, if I enjoyed those 2 episodes that much with just the kids and the parents, once you introduce Jude Law, and now really Jude Law and all these other pirates who, you know, you see Brutus, the like wolf, which I know the technical species name and stuff like that. I just can't pull it right now, but you know, the Wolfman, you know, pirate, the main one, Brutus.
Yeah.
You know, you see him in all the marketing materials and stuff, but he actually does have a pretty substantial role on the show. Like, I thought it was just going to be like a, you know, maybe he'll pop up here and there, but like I said, like this show, it's just one of those shows that it feels like a show. You know, it's that classic kind of, it's almost stupid now because of how many people say it, but like, you know, people pick things up in this show. You know, like I threw on, after I watched episode 3, I threw on the Mando season 2 finale with Luke. And I was like, man, as great and as emotional as this moment is because of what's happening and who it is and the music, I'm like, man, this is just people standing in a cardboard room. Like, that's what that show kind of feels like sometimes in The Mandalorian. And I'm just like, and that's not even about the sets. That's just about the camera. I'm just talking about the camera work in The Mandalorian. It's just people, you know, standing. Really? Do you think we could do that? I think I could call somebody. Oh, okay. But then in this show, it's like, you know, she's like, that's not what Jedi wouldn't do that. That's not what it is. And he's like, first of all, he's a droid. Second of all, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this show is just like everybody feels real. And I really liked, I've listened to so many after shows and podcasts and stuff about this. I can't remember who said what, but somebody, I heard this great thing that was, the show, they didn't dumb down the kids to make the mystery work. You know, that's a really big point, is that in all these episodes, the kids are going like, well, what does this all mean? They're not just like blindly like, you know, oh my God, I don't know, a plot. What do you mean? They're like, oh my God, what if there is a plot? Like, what, you know, and so I saw somebody bring up the notion of like melancholy with this show, of like, are they diving into something deeper here with like, you know, and I think a lot of the 80s movies that this is inspired by, like E.T., deal with that, of like just rediscovering your inner child, missed opportunities. You know, Wim doesn't want to miss out. Whenever his opportunity for adventure calls to him, he doesn't want to miss out on it. And in episode 1, we see the moment happen to him. And I think he's going to realize that, you know, really, like, speaking of Wizard of Oz, you know, there's no place like home. I think it's going to really be one of those things. And then you see it even with his father in episode 3, whereas in the first 2 episodes, he's cold, he's distant. You know, I found him to be, I actually didn't have a problem with his acting. I saw some people did. I really liked the performance, but I just found the character of Wendell, who is Wim's father, I just found him so cold, it almost made me uncomfortable to
it seems like he was somebody who maybe once had dreams and then they were crushed by
exactly. And I think you see
world
that
they're living in.
And I think you see that in his face in episode 3 when all the other parents are talking, and it's this beautiful shot where it's him, and then they just rack focus to where all the other parents come out of focus, and you're just focused on him, and the audio starts going out. And you can tell he's thinking about, like you said, his dreams. How have I been as a father? You know, is the things that I did cause this? You know, did what I do or how I treat him, you know, cause this to happen? I think all of those things are going through his head. And the fact that we have that much intrigue and that much interest in the parents' storyline, which is like the third string storyline of this show, I think really speaks highly that I'm as invested in the kids getting home as I am for the parents uncovering this secret of Ad-Atten and what it means and everything. And then in a much larger look at that new frame, we can really, you know, go out for absolute cinema. In a much larger scope of Star Wars, I just love what all this, you know, the jewels of the old Republic, you know, what this really adds to everything about Star Wars. I also just think the show looks fantastic. When they were in like Kim's, you know, her whatever you want to call that, her like
observatory.
Yeah, her like observatory.
Yeah.
Or her you know, lab or whatever you want to say. It felt like Star Wars, and it also felt like nothing I'd ever seen before in Star Wars. Same with Kim herself. I was like, you see the little like hands like on some machine, and you're like, oh, what is this is clearly going to be some kind of a creature. What is it? And then when it was a little owl woman, I was like, what the hell? But I just loved it. I was like, you know, it was immediately like, oh my God, this is just a classic instant Star Wars creature. You know, same way that like I know and I like what they did with Kim. I do not like what they did with the character I'm about to mention. But the same way in The Acolyte that Basil, you know, he was annoying as hell, but Basil, he felt like a Star Wars creature. You know, it felt like this would be somebody that we would see in Star Wars. And I think that they just always do a great job on that. But I think in Acolyte, it was really just Basil and Kalnaka that we really had to kind of chew on as an audience for these like lush alien creatures that they can design. This show's Skeleton Crew, every single pirate is like a visual feast to like look at, like the creature shop, the motion capture shop, the what's it called, like stop motion animation, you know, with the little teak attendant, the little ferry cab driver, that he's like, payment or whatever, and he gives him the credit.
Oh yeah,
and he
yeah.
goes, "Ee!" and he just runs away like it feels like Sally B.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like, oh, it's another Babu Frick. That was
yeah,
what-
exactly. but that weirdo element of like, why is this thing in Star Wars?
Mhm.
But it just fits perfectly and makes sense to be in Star Wars. So, honestly, I'm like kind of loving this show right now. And
Yeah.
and like you said, I like the Acolyte a lot more than most people, but even towards the end, if the wheels, what am I trying to say? It started to equal less than the sum of its parts. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, there's not enough here to really excuse some of the stuff that is some of the ball that is being dropped here. So while I like the Acolyte, I think that this is the bounce back that they needed. And honestly, I hope that this could be, like an Agatha all along was for Marvel this year, where it's like, wow, you just did, pretty much everyone unanimously agreed that Agatha was either a home run or a solid, 3 base hit. It was like,
Mhm.
it was like maybe not everybody was like, oh my God, Agatha's the best thing that Marvel's ever done. But I would say the majority to the most amount of people were like, wow, Agatha was like a really solid entry to the MCU. I hope we say that about Skeleton Crew. I hope we go, yeah, 2024, it was a real up and down year for Star Wars, but man, the lows were low, but the highs of Skeleton Crew, it just, you have to take that into account. I hope to God that is the conversation. You know what I mean? Because that's just so much better than 2024. We had 2 bad live action shows. Not that I think Acolyte was bad, but just to simplify it in internet terms, a hit and a miss looks a lot better than 2 misses.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think we have a hit.
Yeah. Last question I think related to Skeleton Crew I have for you is what do you think of? Do you have a theory about Jude Law's character? I'm thinking maybe he was.
Just like his story of how he got to where we are.
And I guess because I'm still trying to figure out the Force thing, honestly. And like I said, it could be like smoke and mirrors type thing. I don't know how you would explain that.
Yeah.
But I also like to think maybe he was, like the Acolyte. He was maybe a Jedi in training or something like that. And he left and took a bad turn. I like
a
us
Kanan.
getting to these characters, and this is something I complained about like with Battlefront 2 specifically for the campaign, when I was like, okay, if you're gonna if you're gonna turn somebody from a good character to a bad, keep them bad, don't redeem them, just leave them. I want to see where that character goes. Whereas like again, in Battlefront 2, for example, that main character starts off bad, but then we turn good. I'm like, no, just stay where you are. Like, I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I love Iden Versio, but that's like, not only did that happen, but it's right after the first mission. You get one mission with the Empire.
I mean, I think you're a bigger defender of that game than I am. I dislike that game very much, but
except for Ewok
specifically the campaign. But
except for Ewok.
Yeah,
I have literally played that campaign probably 6 times. That is a game. It's downloaded right now on my PS5. That's a game that goes on and off my PS5 like every 6 months.
Oh, of course.
I'm like, I just played Heroes and Villains arcade, where I just bounced between Anakin and Yoda for like 20 minutes. I set it to, it was just the one where you just have to kill everybody. I just set it to 200 people in like 30 minutes. And I was just jumping around Tatooine, just doing combo moves on people. And as Rey. I always forget that game isn't like 20 years old. I'm like, they really have Rey from Rise of Skywalker in this? And I'm like, yeah, that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
like the game
wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I was like, the last update was only like 3 years. 3 years ago. All right, well, I think it's a pretty good show. Anything else that you
we gotta tell me if you have a theory. Do you have a theory?
Oh my God. I thought I got so sidetracked by my love of Battlefront 2. I think Okay. I just crafted something in my brain
Mhm.
that I'm like, if you really want to up the melancholy, even into kind of sad, I'm gonna, because his age works perfectly to be a Cal Kestis, to be a Kanan Jarrus, who was a Padawan during Order 66, and then they went on the run. His
Right,
age
yeah.
lines up perfectly with that. I would like it to be. This is total theory crafting. Let him be a Padawan who chose to leave right before Order 66 and almost has like maybe he went into this life of piracy because he has kind of a survivor's guilt mentality.
Okay, yeah.
I just thought of that. The word survivor's guilt jumped into my brain and I was like, that would be really interesting. If it's like, I had a house or I had a home, I turned my back on them and then they all died. And,
Mhm.
and I feel like somehow that's on me. And so, I turned to this life of crime and now I've been trying to make it work with these pirates, that kind of thing. That would just, I think, be an interesting twist on the Order 66 survivor element of it. To just make it, a little different than all the other Order 66 survivors that we have met. But I mean, other than that, I think maybe he's just a guy who they never went to. I think it just might be one of
Mhm.
those people that got lost through the system. It's like, why didn't the Jedi ever come for me?
Mm.
That kind of thing. Like there was even in not in the Plagueis novel, but I think in other Legends material, I know there is a story where Palpatine felt looked over because why didn't the Jedi come and recruit me?
Oh,
I was a
okay, yeah.
Force sensitive kid. Maybe that was like the Dark Empire comics. I don't know. I have not read that stuff. But yeah, there's a story out there though where it's like that is one of his motivations is like, well, your system clearly doesn't work because you left me. That kind of thing. And
Right.
I think it could work for Jude Law's character to have resentment towards the Jedi. I think it could also be interesting if they do the survivor's guilt thing to have, great love for the Jedi. I mean, he does say to Fern, that's not a thing that the Jedi would do, that kind of thing. So maybe he does have some reverence for them. But either way, I feel confident enough in the show to know that we will get an answer, which is great. I don't know what is going on on my street and why
Heard a beep.
my street is completely silent until we record. It's like that. Then it's like then there's people. I'm hearing all these noises. Sounds like Kim is outside. Sounds like an owl's hooting outside of my room. Well, yeah. Anything else on Skeleton Crew?
No. One question I do have unrelated to
Oh,
any
who do you think the
movies.
supervisor is
The supervisor.
of the planet?
Oh, jeez.
Do you think the supervisor would be able to contact the Republic? Oh, the supervisor cannot be bothered with things
Oh,
like this right now.
yeah. See, like, so
Yeah,
that's like that
yeah,
kind of Big Brother-ish kind of feel where it's,
yeah. It almost kind of feels like Wizard of Ozzy in a way
yeah,
because it's like,
yeah,
who's this supervisor? It's like he's running the Emerald City and nobody knows what's really going on. It
yeah.
it really kind of does feel like that. That kind of works. I
I
mean,
don't know.
that's just
I
also
mean, I
me.
don't think it'll be a character that we have seen before.
Yeah,
Maybe if
no,
you
but I
pull
mean,
it
I
from
think
like
if
a
anything, it'll
novel or
be an
something.
actor that we know.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it'll be,
that's possible.
it'll be like Bill Murray,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Question regarding a video game. Are you planning on playing
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones? It's not. I know you don't have an Xbox. It comes out. I don't know when it comes out on
Well, I can
PlayStation.
play it on PC, right?
Oh, you can play on PC. That is correct.
Because
Yes.
of Xbox.
Yes. You can do that.
Yeah, I think if the PS5 date is within the year,
I think
I
it's
think I'll
next
wait.
year, obviously, at some
Yeah,
point.
I
Yeah.
think I'll
So.
wait. If it's like before June, I'll just
Mhm.
wait. But if it's like a whole nother year, I'd have to wait. Like then I'll be looking at that. But it's like to
Mhm.
me, it's like I'm gonna buy it for the PC and I'm not gonna enjoy it playing on the PC.
Yeah. I feel that.
But it's whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm hearing nothing but great things. It's one of those things that the talk started as like, no, this Indiana Jones game is like really good. And then it's like, oh, that's cool. They made a good
Yeah.
Indiana Jones game. And then they're like, no, it's like a really good video game.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's also a really good Indiana Jones thing. Like it, but it's like a really kind of like Jedi Fallen Order. It was like oh, they made a great Jedi game. No, they made like a really good, engaging video game. It just happens to be
New
like
Star
the
Wars.
coolest thing you've ever played.
Yeah.
Also, but honestly, it turned me off. Turned a lot of people off with the whole like first person thing of
Yeah.
it.
Very
But I mean,
interesting,
I guess if
pathway.
enough people are saying that it outweighs that it's so good it outweighs any drawback to that, then I guess everybody can't be wrong. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I have been playing like probably 2 or 3 hours. I played on Marvel Rivals. Did you play that at all? That's the new Overwatch like Marvel game.
Yeah.
All the people at my work, they're not all teenagers, but all the young people that work for me at my job, they are all playing Marvel Rivals. So I was like, all right, I'll download it.
Is that free?
See. Yeah, that it's completely free. No microtransactions. Well, there's like tokens that you can buy. It's like that kind of thing. It's like an item shop. And then another big thing that they're doing is if something is locked like to a season. So if it's like, oh, unlock the Love and Thunder skin, by completing these, if the time runs out on the like Thor challenges or whatever to get you can still do it. So unlike in Fortnite where it's like if you get 9 out of 10, but then the contest closes, you just lose. You just can't get it. But in Marvel Rivals, it's like there will never be a time limit on completing challenges to get cosmetics and stuff. And then and it'll never be like, it's just one of those games where they're like, it'll always be free, man. Just we got your back, and it's like, oh, how much are tokens? And it's like 1,000 tokens is only $199. It's like one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
But honestly, it is kind of it's not that bad, but it's like $10. I can be God of Stories Loki from Loki season 2 finale, like for $10. Like that's about on par with Fortnite. But yeah, I thought it was fun, but it is an Overwatch kind of game. So it's like, I wanted to play as Loki because I love Loki, but Loki's like a healer class. Like, so it's his scepter, like doing like energy blasts and like area of effect damage and stuff. It's like, I just don't like to play like that. So I've been maining either Punisher or Moon Knight. Moon Knight has been my favorite to play so far. But yeah, pretty fun game. But yeah, pretty fun show. Thank you guys for joining us. Myself and TJ, my co-host there. We will do traditional sign out. I don't know why I just said that, but thank you guys so much for joining us. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk. Thank you for joining us again, as I say that for a 4th time. I really appreciate you guys calling in. That was a fun little new feature that we're definitely going to probably bring back next week. We'll just have to think of a different topic. And that goes, honestly, the thing that got me thinking about the phone calls goes all the way back to our first episodes in 2020, where we were doing this thing called the Final Order, where we would say a question at the end of the episode and then be like, tweet at us. And nobody would tweet at us because nobody knew who we were. And so now it's like we can just think of a question and people can answer it right live in the episode itself. And all you guys will be, pending all this stuff works, all you guys will be put into the podcast and everything like that too. All your audio will be on there too. So we really, really like that feature and we really appreciate you guys calling in. But yeah, that will do it for me. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been another host, TJ Cornwall. Thank you for watching. Follow us on Instagram, X/Twitter, and Blue Sky as well. We have an account. So follow us there, and then we will see you next time.
Boom. Actually,